It is now my pleasure to introduce our 2022 commencement speaker, Congressman Jim McGovern. The congressman has served Massachusetts in Washington since his first election in 1996. Congressman McGovern is the chairman of the Powerful Rules Committee in Congress, where he is charged with, amongst other things, controlling the flow of legislation to the House floor. The congressman has been amongst the most vocal and important advocates for ending hunger, not only in America, but around the world. When President Biden recently announced that the White House will host a conference on hunger for the first time in over 50 years, it was indeed a credit to the work and influence of Congressman McGovern. The congressman recently returned from a trip to Kiev, one of our four lawmakers in the entire House to make the trip and meet with President Zelensky. With all that work and responsibility in DC, indeed. With all that work and responsibility in DC and around the world, the congressman has been a constant presence on this campus and has continued to prioritize UMass, its students, faculty, and staff, and its needs. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of the great choices of his life, marrying Lisa Murray, a proud UMass Amherst alumna. Congressman, it is my pleasure to welcome you today. I know your words will inspire and congratulate the UMass Amherst class of 2022.
Thank you. Go UMass. I am so proud of you all. And isn't this a wonderful afternoon to be out here and celebrate? To Chancellor Subaswamy, thank you for that incredibly kind introduction and for your friendship and for your leadership. Members of the Board of Trustees, thank you for all that you do and for inviting me to speak here today. President Meehan, my longtime friend and former colleague in the United States Congress, distinguished members of the legislature, faculty and staff, to the honorary degree recipients, family and friends, it is a privilege to be with you all. But most importantly, to the class of 2022, congratulations on reaching this milestone and on a job well done. I am grateful to be here not just as your commencement speaker, but as the Chancellor pointed out, as the husband of a UMass Amherst alumna who fell in love with this school, then fell in love with Massachusetts, and then somehow shockingly fell in love with me. But as the congressman who represents this school, I can tell you hands down that you are graduating today from one of the finest institutions of learning, not just in this country, but on this planet. And by the way, my kids tell me that you know how to throw one hell of a party. And the food at the Burke is pretty damn good. You know, I want you to know that I'm honored to be in the presence of such an amazing group of students who earned your degrees during an unprecedented, once-in-a-century global pandemic. We all know that wasn't easy, but the fact that each of you endured and persisted simply makes your accomplishment all the more inspiring. To your family and friends, your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody, I want to congratulate all of you too. You know, I have a son who just graduated from college and a daughter who is finishing up her sophomore year. So I know exactly how proud you are today. And I know that no matter how many degrees your kids earn, you'll always be smarter. So graduates, give another round of applause to your family and friends. Now, I have a confession to make. I wasn't a particularly great student. In fact, I was kind of a bad student, especially in high school. I worked hard, but A's and B's eluded me. I think when I got my diploma, I think it said graduated magna cum laude. But a while back, I actually got invited to give the commencement speech at the high school that I graduated from in Worcester. I couldn't figure out a good way to start my speech, so I got up to the podium, looked out at all my old teachers, and I just said, surprise. I don't think that they thought it was as funny as I did. Anyways, I really mean it when I say congratulations on a job well done. To those of you who get such wonderful honors and awards, to those who were honored as 21st century leaders, the Welsh Scholars, and to those of you who got C's and maybe a couple of D's, I'm living proof that you too, well, to those of you who fall in that category, I am living proof that you too can one day be a member of the United States Congress. All right, now just a little serious stuff here for a couple of minutes. You know, the first time I ran for Congress, I lost. I felt like I let a lot of people down, my wife, my family, my supporters. You know, when you lose an election, it doesn't just hurt, it aches. And I cared about the issues, and I cared about fighting for people, and thought I was terrific. But a majority of voters picked someone else. And it was a humbling experience that taught me two things. First, whether you win or lose, the most important thing is that you have to get back up when you're knocked down. And second, in a democracy, losing with grace and dignity matters. Because democracy depends on the consent of the people, not only from those who win, but also from those who lose. And losing forces people and forces political parties to change and to grow, to take action and to take chances. That's what I did when I lost. I talked to new people, more people. I came up with new ideas. I learned new things about myself, and I learned more things about my community. And I came to appreciate that politics is about addition and not subtraction. And 2 years later, I won. And that's how the system is supposed to work. Hell, that's how life is supposed to work. When you fail, you learn from what happened, you get back up, and you try again. Progress doesn't come only in moments of victory or triumph. It comes through the hard moments of disappointment and defeat, too. And over the past 4 years, you have experienced many triumphs and too much trauma, from a pandemic that has left too many empty seats here in this stadium and has been really difficult on all of you who are here today. And Emily, thanks for your opening speech. To the profound outrages of racial, social, and economic injustices that this country is reckoning with. To generations of pain and suffering caused by choices made long before us. And I too want to acknowledge in that spirit that we are here today on stolen Pocumtuck land. And I want to talk to you about how we can solve some of these problems. And I want to make a simple pitch to you. Don't give up on democracy. I'm not talking about some pie-in-the-sky, cookie-cutter idea of democracy, not just about winning or losing, or about something that you learned about in political science class. I'm talking about giving everyone a seat at the table and the power to demand a say in what kind of future that they have. Democracy is a process. It is a way of solving problems to create a more just, inclusive, peaceful, prosperous, free, and fair future. And I'm asking you to believe in democracy because I still believe, even though, like you, I can see that democracy is in crisis. And by the way, democracy is in crisis not just halfway around the world, but halfway down the block. And we have watched in horror at what is happening in Ukraine as people stand up for the right to make decisions about their future. And as the Chancellor said, I just returned from a trip to Ukraine with the Speaker of the House. It is gut-wrenching what is happening there. And sometimes it feels like ignorance and lies are winning out over wisdom and truth, like evil and hate are winning out over love and kindness. And I'm not here to tell you that everything will be all sunshine and rainbows if we believe in democracy. It's not easy work, but it is important work. And let me be clear. The choices you make in the coming days, weeks, and months will decide if we are a country that demands truth or fears power, whether we're a country that teaches tolerance or tolerates tyranny, opposes oppression or bans books. These are not imaginary problems. We are living through dangerous times. And I know democracy might seem like it can't solve these problems. After all, too often and for too many in this country, change has come either not at all or not soon enough. You know, I was born when segregation was the law of the land, and abortion was illegal in most places. My generation lived through Watergate and the Vietnam War. I got pepper sprayed protesting outside the White House, and I've been arrested for civil disobedience 3 times.
Yeah.
I want to thank my probation officer for allowing me to be with all of you today. You know, these are not new fights, but they are new again. You know, one of my close friends in Congress was civil rights champion John Lewis. And in 1965, he led 600 peaceful protesters on a march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, to show the nation and the world that black voters in Alabama were being denied the right to vote. They crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge on a chilly Sunday morning when a group of Alabama state troopers attacked them. They were beaten, bloodied, and barely escaped with their lives because they demanded change, because they demanded respect, because they demanded their rights. And you know what? After that, they got back up and they did it again a few weeks later. And they forced the United States Congress to finally pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, I tell you these things because I want you to believe deep down in your bones, like I do, that everything worth fighting for in this country happened because everyday people stood up for what they believed in. Democracy is not a state, it is an act, John wrote in his final essay before he passed away. He knew that for all of its shortcomings, democracy is the best way to solve big problems, defend human dignity, and make a difference. And I know it's easy just to put things on autopilot, to tune in when you need to vote in a big election or tune out until the next election. But here's the deal. It's no longer safe to assume your right to vote will be around the next time you want to use it. Democracies are resilient, but they are also fragile. And just like all of us, they contain within themselves the possibility to self-correct and to self-destruct. That's what we saw on January 6th. I was there that day when a violent mob attacked the United States Capitol because they didn't like losing, because they had been fed lies about the election being stolen. I was one of the last people out of the House of Representatives as we evacuated that day. And I came face to face with the people who were breaking down the glass doors to hurt us and prevent the certification of a free and fair election. It was an awful, awful day. Not just because people were hurt and died, not just because of the damage to a building, but because of the damage it did to our democracy. It was an attack on the basic idea that if you lose, you give up power peacefully. You don't stage a violent attack because you did not like the results. And I know that it's easy to feel removed from things like this, or to think that they don't impact you. But like it or not, your future and the future of our democracy are linked. And let me give you an example. Many of you are about to graduate with a boatload of student loans. And I'm someone who believes that we should cancel your student loan debt. And guess what? Most Americans agree with us. But our democracy has been so chipped away at and distorted that the makeup of our government no longer reflects the majority of people. Twice in recent history, the candidate who got fewer votes in the election became the President of the United States. The filibuster gives a minority of senators representing a fraction of the people in this country the ability to stop bills that the overwhelming number of us here support. And we have politicians cynically spreading dangerous conspiracy theories, radicalizing people into believing lies, while they fundraise off the hate and anger that they create. More and more, it's the well-off and the well-connected few who buy their way into the rooms where decisions get made. And I think that that is just wrong. In a democracy, the losers are supposed to lose gracefully, and the winners are supposed to be accountable to the people. These are huge problems. These are huge problems that we face, but they are solvable problems. And I want to be the first to tell you, look, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm proud of it, but I'm not here to make this pitch to you as a Democrat, Republican, or Independent. I won't tell you what to believe, but I will tell you that you have been given an incredible gift, a world-class education. This is unbelievable what we are celebrating here today, your education at the University of Massachusetts. And so my question to you now is, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do to help other people in this country? What are you going to do for our democracy? And I know that many of you have already embraced the call to public service. I know that we have future teachers and nurses and doctors and journalists and firefighters, police officers. I mean, I go on and more and more. I want you to live a meaningful life. I want you to travel to interesting places. I want you to make new friends. I want you to fall in love. And I want you to find your purpose. Life is short, it goes by too fast for any of us not to do what you love. But at the same time, I'm asking you not to forget that part of living a meaningful life is about being part of a community and giving back to that community. And it will be tempting to let someone else do the work, to step back and throw up your hands and say, hey, it's not my problem. But if democracy means leaving it to someone else, then our country is not going to work for you. It's going to work for fewer and fewer people. It's going to work for those who are willing to rig the system, to overturn elections. So I'm asking you, all of you, not to give up on democracy. That doesn't mean that you have to take on all the world's biggest challenge. Doesn't mean you'll have to run for office, although I hope some of you do. I'm someone who grew up in a family that wasn't terribly involved in politics, yet they believed in the power of community. They didn't pass judgment or feel sorry for people. They rolled up their sleeves and they tried to help whoever they could. They taught my sisters and me that sometimes the best way to change the world is to change someone's world for the better. And in that lesson, we learned more about politics than any degree could have taught, and that's no offense to the political science department here. But we learned that sometimes democracy simply means listening to others with respect and understanding, and finding joy and purpose in giving back. So, to the class of 2022, here's my challenge to you. We face big problems. Climate change, intergenerational poverty, systemic racism, hunger. We live in a country where close to 40 million of our fellow citizens don't know where the next meal is going to come from. War. We have to find a way to create an immigration policy in this country that respects our values. There's so much that we need to do. And piercing partisan division and a rigged economy that too often rewards wealth instead of work. It's going to take courage. It's going to take grit and imagination to solve these problems. It's going to require you to find joy and purpose in giving back. But I have faith in you because I have seen the energy and the wisdom and the compassion of your generation. This is your moment. So don't give in to cynicism and doubt. Don't lose faith. The long history of the world has shown us that democracy is worth it, even when it's hard, and especially when it's hard. Even when you lose and you want to throw up your hands and scream, trust me, I've been there and I've done that. But we are all citizens of this world. We share a common destiny, common hopes and dreams of a more peaceful and prosperous future. The answer is more democracy, not less. And in a democracy, the power of the people will always be stronger than the people in power. So may we all be worthy of that awesome responsibility, knowing that better days always lie ahead if we come together in purpose and partnership to bring about peace on earth and goodwill towards all. Thank you for letting me share this special day with you. Congratulations, and go UMass!